Grounded 2 is right around the corner, and with the full release closing in fast, this is the perfect time to break down everything we know. From the story setup to the bugs you'll be fighting and riding to the regions you'll be exploring and gearing you'll be crafting, this is your full preview of everything we know so far. Whether you're a veteran of the first game or jumping in fresh, this video will get you up to speed on what to expect from Obsidian's long-awaited sequel. So with that said, let's dive on in. Before we get into the bugs, the region, and the gear, there's one important thing to do, and that is to set the stage. Grounded 2 will launch into early access. Just like the original game, content will roll out in stages, and what we're getting on day 1 is just Act 1 of a much larger adventure. But don't take that as a small slice. According to the developers, Act 1 of Grounded 2 is already as big as the entire Grounded 1 campaign, so even in its early form, the sequel is shaping up to be a massive experience. The story picks up roughly 2 years after the events of Grounded 1, this time shifting to the setting of Brookhollow Park. You'll still be able to play solo or team up and co-op with up to 4 players, and yes, Pete, Max, Willow, and Hoops are all back. And this time, they're not the only one affected once again. Both Professor Tully and the ever so helpful robot Virgil has also been shrunk down and pulled into this new mystery. While we don't know yet exactly how much of a role they'll be playing in this unfolding story, or whether they're directly involved in gameplay, it's clear from what we've seen that they're part of the cast once again, caught up in Ominent's experiments alongside the teams. Throughout the trailer and the early footage, the fingerprints of Ominent are everywhere. Their logos are stamped on text, signs, and installations scattered throughout the world, which tell us one thing loud and clear: they're still experimenting and they're still the root of the problem. Once again, the goal is clear: survive the oversized danger, uncover what Ominent is up to, and most importantly, figure out how to unshrink before it's too late. Only this time, the backyard is a whole lot bigger. Now that we got a clear picture of what's going on with the world and story, we need to talk about the other major elements of Grounded 2, the bugs. As expected, they're back in a big way, and so far there's a strong mix of returning favorites and brand new threats. From the first game, we've already seen the return of the Red Soldier Ant, but this time they're playing a much more prominent role. In Grounded 1, Red Soldier Ants were aggressive defenders of the colony, guarding high-tier loot and fiercely protecting their nests. In Grounded 2, it looks like their behavior has been expanded even further, possibly taking on a more territorial or even faction-based presence in the park. They're not just backyard threats anymore, they're a real force to contend with. Alongside them, the bees are back, buzzing across the skies with that same passive but deadly energy, majestic from a distance but dangerous if you step into their airspace. Ladybugs are returning too, still stomping around like peaceful tanks. Weevils, the poor guys, look just as clueless as ever, but they're still a crucial part of the food chain and an early game resource staple. Stink bugs are also back with their signature toxic clouds, turning even the calmest corners of the yard into a no-go zone in seconds. Wolf spiders and orb weavers have been confirmed as well, bringing with them the same level of nighttime dread and ambush potential that made exploring the dark so dangerous in the original. But what really has people talking are the new additions. The Scorpion has shown up in almost every trailer, and from what we can tell, they are actually going to be more than one type, possibly different breeds or elemental variants depending on the lighting or effects. While we don't know exactly how they'll behave, it's a safe bet that they'll make use of poison or paralysis, and the gear crafted for them can open up an entirely new synergy for that kind of playstyle. On top of that, we've seen what looks like a butterfly or a moth, something clearly tied to the game mage focused gear setups. There's also the surprising appearance of the praying mantis again, which was previously a boss in Grounded 1 but now seems to be roaming the park as a standard enemy. If it's anywhere near as strong as the original, this could be a serious threat for even well equipped players. One of the most disgusting but potentially most useful bugs that we've seen is the cockroach. While we haven't seen too much of its behavior yet, it's pretty clear this thing can block, and that likely make it a fantastic match for players who planning to play a tank style. In the background of some footage, we also seen what appears to be a caterpillar covered in dangerous looking spines. It hasn't been shown in combat yet, but it looks like something you don't want to mess with, and right along with that, we've caught glimpse of a snail, another passive looking bug we haven't seen move, but definitely something that could surprise us down the line. Finally, there's the tarantula, and while the tarantula in real life tend to be a little bit more mellow, something tells me this is going to be far from friendly, and if it ends up being a boss encounter, it could easily become one of the game's standout fights. All in all, it seems like the classic bugs from Grounded 1 are returning with mostly the same behavior, maybe with a few tweaks here and there, and that's perfectly fine. When you mix those familiar threats with the brand new bugs, the result is a whole new level of danger for the backyard. So now that we have a better handle on what kind of bugs we'll be up against, the next big question is, where exactly will we be encountering them? Through various trailers and dev footage, we've managed to piece together a partial look at Grounded 2 map, and while we don't know exactly where the game will actually start, one thing is obvious: the backyard is massive. One of the most striking points of interest we've seen so far is the spilled ice cream cart. It's more than just eye candy. This frozen zone introduced a biome unlike anything we've seen in the first game, with sticky, icy surfaces, a cool toned atmosphere, and environmental hazards that we haven't had to deal with before. The presence of scorpions in this region, as seen in early trailers, make it pretty clear that the area is far from safe. It's very likely we'll encounter a whole new lineup of biome-specific enemies here, pushing players to prepare with the right gear before heading in. Another recognizable feature is a picnic table, which immediately calls back to the original Grounded own food-filled landmark. This version looked even more chaotic, scattered with leftover snacks, towering condiments, and half-open container that can house anything: allies, enemies, or valuable loot. Whether it plays a similar role to the first game table or something entirely different remains to be seen, but it's a promising and familiar space that invites exploration. Speaking of food, one of the newer reveals is a hot dog cart, another towering structure in the environment that seems to be a treasure trove of food-based content. Whether it's crafting materials, unique bugs drawn to the scent, or environmental storytelling, this could be one of the more interactive areas in a game, and it might even connect to new crafting or buff system if consumables become a larger focus. Beyond the food-themed locations, trailers have also teased us with cameras and amplifier setups that the teens are crawling through. This suggests the introduction of more electronic components into crafting and base building, opening up exciting new possibilities for tech-based gadgets or defenses. And lastly, we can't overlook the mountain of ominous labs scattered across the map. These labs seem to be the major hub of storytelling and gameplay activity, promising a variety of challenges, puzzles, and enemy encounters. Multiple labs hint that players will be exploring several key indoor environments, possibly tied to the unraveling of the mystery of the park incident. Altogether, these biomes and points of interest paint a picture of sprawling, richly detailed world that's more varied and dangerous than ever before. The sheer scale of the map paired with these diverse regions make it clear that the traversal and exploration will be a major part of the gameplay loop. And that brings us to one of the most exciting features: buggy mounts. Among the most exciting features in Grounded 2 are the Buggies, rideable insect companions that look to completely redefine how you explore, gather, and survive in the massive park. At early access launch, we know of two confirmed mounts: the Red Soldier Ant and the Orb Weaver Spider, each one bringing something unique to the table, and they aren't just for travel, they're gameplay systems all on their own. The Red Soldier Ant is shaping up to be the ultimate utility mount. It's designed around early game mobility and efficient base building. From the clips that we've seen, it's able to cut down grass and carry massive load of resources, which should dramatically speed up the building process. On top of that, the developers confirmed it can summon worker ants to assist the players. We don't know exactly how those helpers function yet, but the idea of having your own personal work crew is a massive win. Then there's the Orb Weaver Spider, a former enemy turned formidable ally. In trailers, we've seen it spin webs to slow down enemies and even create a web bridge that allow players to reach elevated areas. Compared to the Red Soldier Ant, the Orb Weaver seemed to be more focused on tactical support and vertical traversal, offering a completely different style of utility. Obsidian has also shown off how these buggies come into play. Rather than taming them outright, players will need to build a hatchery and bring it a bug egg. Once placed, the egg hatches into your mount, and that one mechanic alone hints at future death, possibly involving buggy growth, mutations, or even unique traits that may make one even more special. While we don't have the full picture yet, one thing's obvious: buggies won't just help you get from point A to B, they're going to be essential allies for everything from exploration to combat to construction in Grounded 2. It's clear the development team is putting a much greater emphasis on player customization this time around, especially when it comes to the 4 teams. One of the standout additions in Grounded 2 is the introduction of defined archetypes: Rogue, Mage, Warrior, and Ranger, which helps to give you more identity to how each player can build and play their characters. This direction is being reinforced with both returning gear from the first game and 10 entirely new armor sets confirmed for the early access launch. We don't know yet exactly how much of the old gear will return, but with the expanded pool, the potential for more specialized builds is undeniable. Now, if you're a regular watcher of the channel, you already know I tend to approach most gameplay through the lens of a tank style playstyle, so naturally the warrior archetype is going to be the go-to for me and for others who enjoy that being on the frontline playstyle. But that doesn't necessarily mean that the warrior is limited to being a tank. From what we've seen, the class is centered more broadly on melee combat, which could include both heavy frontline brawlers and hard-hitting damage dealers. Meanwhile, the Ranger and the Rogue archetype looks to be fairly similar in the function to what we've seen in Grounded 1, with the Ranger acting as a range specialist, probably more fragile but efficient at picking off targets from a distance or dealing with aerial threats, and the Rogue offering high burst damage up close with an emphasis on hit and run or stealth tactics. The biggest curveball though is the Mage archetype, Grounded 2's newest addition. From what we can tell, it appears to be tied to parts harvested from the butterfly or the moth early on, and while it's not typically my personal favorite playstyle, I'm really curious to see how the Mage archetypes end up performing, especially when it's paired with the revamped mutation system. Speaking of which, mutations are back and looking better than ever. Not only are they quite a few of them, but they also come with a much cleaner, more refined UI. Each mutation appears to offer a unique way to enhance your build. Some provide raw stat bonuses, while others just more situational. One mutation we've seen is tailored for use during the base defense events, something that Grounded 1 veterans should be fairly familiar with. These type of effects make you think that electronic structures like the amplifier or the lab areas we talked about earlier might tie more directly into redefined base systems. But whether you're min-maxing your builds for raids or crafting a unique playstyle just for fun, it's obvious that Grounded 2 is leaning harder into giving players a real sense of progression and individuality. So there you have it, that is the final preview for Grounded 2. From a massively expanded backyard and terrifying new bugs to deeper customization and buggy companions, it's clear Obsidian is aiming to take everything that worked in the first game and blow it wide open. But this is just the beginning. As we get closer to the launch and more information rolls out, I'll be breaking it all down in detail, deep dives into mechanics, early access content coverage, breakdowns of updates, and more. If you really want analysis, no filler, and someone who actually puts in time to explore every inch of this game, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on what's coming up next. Huge thank you guys for checking out the channel, and with that said, I'll see you in the next Grounded 2 video very soon.